トダウンをしていきます。いきます。3、2、1、スタート。Good luck.
Right. Hello, my name is Turkenheimer, and
ゲームについての解説。
I will commentate a little bit for the English Restream.
任天堂64で発売された
We are a little bit ahead of schedule, so we will see if some other commentators will join me eventually. But it's not too big of a deal, because this game, Majora's Mask, has a very long intro, about 22 minutes in this category.
悩みを解決することで本作のコレクション要素であるお面などを手に入れたり、またそこからイベントへ派生したりとサブイベントが
Yeah, I guess first I can explain a little bit what this category is about. Any percent, no major glitches. The category has actually gone through a lot of name changing until now we came up with this one, and I think it's pretty descriptive. No major glitches means 2 glitches are banned. Those are text overflow and SRM. Now, text overflow is a glitch that allows you to open a debug menu, basically an item editor, that is banned. And SRM is the most powerful glitch in the game, and that allows you to basically do almost anything. Actually, not almost, because you can do arbitrary code execution, so you can do anything. So yeah, those ridiculous powerful glitches are banned. And without these glitches, you also have to beat all the dungeons. So there are 4 dungeons in this game, and there's no way around without those major glitches.
数年前に 2% として走られていたものと似たような内容になっています。テキストオーバーフローと SRM って何ぞやっていうことで説明すると
So yeah, Majora's Mask is unfortunately known to have this stupidly long intro. Actually, there's now a way for the actual any percent unrestricted without those glitches bans to kind of break out of the intro, or out of the deku section rather. So right now we are in the very intro, but after this very first intro there comes another cutscene and you get transformed into a deku, and you basically just go from cutscene to cutscene. It's pretty stupid. And yeah, the new any percent without restrictions now can at least break out of that in the middle, basically.
これだけでもまだ十分におかしなことをやっているように聞こえるのですが、こんなのはまだまだ序の口レベルです。
So yeah, the lore here is Link gets his ocarina stolen, and the Skull Kid is mean because the mask has bad influence on the Skull Kid.
はい、わかりました。はい。で、早速、ここでムービーが終わるので、ここから移動していきます。
And yeah, the first part, the intro section is just about getting the ocarina back. And yeah, it's pretty stupid to get it quickly. No, there's not really a way to get it quickly. So I guess I can talk a little bit about the movement. You saw there, Mousse went backwards, because backwalking is actually faster than walking forward. Second option to move faster is rolling. So these are basic movement options. Rolling is not quite as fast as backwalking, but it allows you to change directions better. So depending on situations, for basic movement, you will see runners switch between those two. And yeah, this is another cutscene where we become Deku and then are stuck for a while.
その SRM が RTA でどのように使われたのか、またなぜ今回 SRM ありではなくノーメジャーグリッチーズ、SRM 禁止のカテゴリーを走るのかについてお話しします。まず SRM が RTA で最初に使われた
I guess we can also talk a little bit about the options you have for this category if you want to run it, because there are actually plenty of options. I think somebody joined me. Hey, truly. Okay, Truly is almost ready, I think. Truly now. So yeah, this category has a lot of options when it comes to running. There is kind of an expert route that is ridiculously inconsistent. Now this route that Mousse, I assume, is running is the second hardest route. It gets a little bit more explosive, so explosives are very important, and yeah, the more you have, the safer it is to run, basically. But yeah, this route is still pretty fast. And it's a lot more consistent. So currently, if you look at the leaderboard for this category, there's a 1 second difference between first and second place. And first place is on the very hard route, the expert route, and second place is on this route that we're seeing here, which is a little bit safer. So yeah, inconsistency is actually a huge factor when it comes to actually getting a good time. You might want to maybe run a slower route. So yeah, after this second option, there's also then several more options that are easier and get more explosives, and thereby are of course slower optimally. But if you want to run a glitch category of this game, then you can always choose this category, and depending on how hard you want to go, you can choose your route. I think there are 5 different routes. So the easiest is actually really easy. Well, you still need to learn something, but you get the idea. So now we are Dekulink. Yeah, Dekulink has also a way to move slightly faster by spinning. So that's basically the roll equivalent of Deku. Here's a little skip. You saw this text that came up. He didn't get the skip, unfortunately, but you can side up into this Deku flow to skip this text. And now it's time for the first glitch, basically, to skip some to skip a cutscene. So in this game, most cutscenes activate after 2 frames have passed, or I think it's every uneven frame out of a pause, basically. So if you pause the game and only advance 1 frame at a time, you will only ever get the first frame out of a pause, but not the second frame, and thereby the cutscene cannot activate. So here's actually a cutscene where the happy mask salesman would talk to us.
Hello, can you hear me?
But we skip it. They're buffering all the way into the loading zone. And here's a little reset. We are on the English version, by the way. I will explain later some version differences. Hello.
Oh, you can hear me. Good, good. Sorry for that.
Yeah, a little bit silent.
Yeah, okay, we're back. I'm back. Hello. Welcome, everybody. I'm truly Nan, and yeah. I'll be commentating with Turkenheimer today.
Yeah, technically you're also still 10 minutes early because they are so early on schedule.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably part of it. Okay, but it's alright.
Yeah.
We're here.
Yeah, I mean, it's first cycle. You didn't miss much.
Yeah, I've been listening to the commentary, and okay. And we're here. And so yeah, if people have any questions, feel free to ask them in chat. I have a whole screen dedicated to the chat at SpeedGaming, so I'll gladly answer any questions.
That's good because I am not looking too much at chat.
So now we're going to try and get as quickly as we can to midnight on day 3. So for that, Grandma is really helpful since she can let us advance by at least 24 hours to the next day. So we can already get to final day in the morning, and then we're going to cross Clocktown to make it night 3, and then pick up whatever we need in those last 6 hours of the game time.
Yeah, so for the final night transition here, we can dance with the scarecrow in West Clocktown. At least the developers gave us this option, because really we just need it to be midnight on night 3, so
初回入場ムービーの時にボンバーズの位置をある程度把握することができるので、まあそれで注意しようという。
if we would have to wait all the time, that would be horrible.
ここでかかしに話をして、
Still need to wait a little bit, unfortunately.
夜まで飛ばします。でここ A ボタン連打してしまうと、アタックを入れて、時間の無駄になってしまうので要注意ですね。海外版だと、日本版に加えてここに
So yeah, there are two versions basically of this game. Well, there are more versions, but basically only two that are truly relevant for speedrunning. Mostly that's for the Wii Virtual Console, the English version or the North American version, and the Japanese 1.1 version. In some rare cases, also other versions, but that's then very specific. So we are on the English version, and the text is actually a little bit slower, but not much slower like in other games. If you think of Ocarina of Time, the English version actually loses a lot, whereas here it's not that big of a deal. And yeah, the reason for the English version are some version differences that will come up later. And yeah, I guess you might wonder, how are we in Clocktown? And you saw you can backwalk past this guard, and this trick is actually as easy as it looks. The guard is just because he's on a slope.
Yeah, you just backwalk, get a bit
Yeah.
past him, then he freaks out, and you can just leave.
Yeah, backwalk speed is just enough speed to pass him. And yeah, we are on Terminal Field, and to pass the time that we still need to wait, we farm some rupees. And going to Milk Road, and this will be important later, keep that in mind.
Yeah, we will need access to that point on the map later on.
Yeah, exactly. When you go to Milk Road, then you can see it actually on your pause menu, that it's the point where you have been.
いいですね。素晴らしい。ちょっと素晴らしすぎるんで、一個削ります、草村。
Yeah, the text scrolling is decently fast. Most text is fast text, and if it's not, then at least compared to Ocarina of Time, it's still twice the speed because it's 2 characters on the non-Japanese versions. 2 characters per frame. In Ocarina of Time, it's just 1 frame, 1 character per frame.
Oh, that's a big difference, actually. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
in Ocarina of Time, the text on anything but Japanese is incredibly slow. It's kind of ridiculous.
Is IQ any fast?
Yeah, IQ, the Japanese version, not Japanese, Chinese version, yeah, that is actually the fastest. And there is a bounty for Ocarina of Time glitchless on IQ, because it's technically the fastest version. Because also IQ is very low in lag, unlike N64, so it is basically kind of like N64 but a little bit more powerful, so there's very little lag. And the text is the fastest, so for glitchless, where you don't really need any version-specific glitches or something, obviously, it is actually the fastest version.
Wait, let me move that because I can't see your username. Ellie Hex. Yeah, the rupee route essentially is we need, I think it's something like at least 70 rupees in this route.
60. So he has enough.
Okay, so I knew it was less than 90. So we get 60 because we need explosives. We need bomb bag, bomb chews. So a big part of this route is managing explosives and making sure we buy them properly, use them properly, and even you'll see there's a way to transfer explosive amounts between cycles, even though Song of Time should, in theory, erase all your ammo from your inventory. But we'll see later that even that we can go through and break that intended mechanic and transport
Yeah.
bombs or bomb shoes across cycles because they're so important for everything we do in the route.
Yeah. Now for the intended parts, there's the banker, and you can just deposit your rupees, and they will still be there in the next cycle.
Yeah, that is correct.
And yeah, it's basically the only thing that we can do to, in the meantime, instead of just waiting.
Yeah, in
And yeah,
some.
this.
Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I mean, in this route, you actually really need these 60 rupees. I mean, 60 rupees are not that many, but there are other routes where you try to farm 90, but if you don't get them, then you can get the silver rupee, and it only loses like 8 seconds, I think. But in this route, we actually need both 60 rupees and the silver rupee.
Yeah, so in some cycles, I think the cycle after cycle 3 starts with getting rupees. At least in Mousse's route, they go and get it.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah. Every cycle except the Great Base cycle and the final cycle. You get these, yeah.
So Metroid Master, to answer your question, for gainers, if you're against a corner, it's a 2-frame window to get a gainer going, and it's a 1-frame window if you're not against a corner. So as you've probably seen Mousse do that, which was like a forward backflip that let them hang to the ledge and climb the clock tower. So that's called a gainer, and if you do it next to a corner, it's a 2-frame trick, and it's a 1-frame trick if you're not against the ledge. So you'll see them do that as Zora Link later on in the run, and those other ones will have to be frame perfect.
But also, if you don't want to do gainer, as Deku, you can do twisted backflips.
Yes.
And that's pretty cool. And honestly, it's actually easier, if you ask me.
Oh wait, that's a good question, Metroid Master. I have a controller next to me, so you hold down. You have L held on the frame. You stop holding
controller.
L or Z. Yeah.
Okay, depends on the controller.
They're playing on VC, so they probably have a GameCube controller too right now. So you hold L, and as you release L, you hold down. You'll still have one frame that's targeting, and then the frame after you want to hold target and A again. But if that's for frame perfect, if you want to do a 2-frame gainer, that same frame plus the one after is going to work.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I think you don't necessarily need forward, but I think it makes it somewhat more lenient because you need to let go.
It just helps you climb faster. That's correct. You'll just grab on to the ledge and not climb, but you're usually going to want to climb.
Yeah, I mean, it is also helps just from going from down to not down. So you can technically go to neutral, but just flicking it up to up, I think that's easier. Alright, this is now technically the end of first cycle, but yeah, people also still refer to the next cutscene as first cycle because it's just one cutscene group, like the first 22 minutes. Until
you call it first cycle until you're back to control as human.
Yeah, basically.
That's our definition.
I mean, technically it's not exactly that, but when people say first cycle, that's what they usually mean. Yeah, I guess we can mention that we just reset the game again. Because when you press yes on the ocarina, press on the Song of Time text box to save the game, then it saves immediately and you can reset to skip another cutscene that would otherwise play.
Yeah. So the flashback cutscene we have to watch casually you don't really need to watch it. So you can just reset there and it will save anyway, and you can pursue with your run or playthrough. So even casually, if you already saw a cutscene 1,000 times, you can just skip it after you save. So it's completely safe to do. And if you're on N64, it's very, very fast resetting. But the cutscene is so long, it's even worth it on Virtual Console.
Yeah, on N64 the resets are so fast. There are actually many resets that are worth on N64 that are not on VC.
Yep.
For example, just regularly going back in time on VC, you would not reset, but on N64 just reset because it's a little bit faster than watching just falling through this white, I don't know what that is.
Time portal?
Yeah, time portals. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Scary face time. That's exactly it. Dark Rare Reaper.
そこに飛ぶと 16,381 行目というのは、このファイル
Although on N64, I have a PAL N64 where the reset button is stuck. So I used just the power button. So basically, I did a hard reset.
Oh.
And if you do that too quickly, you can actually corrupt your file and get it deleted. Because on N64, apparently, it does not save quite as quickly.
Oh.
So I think I waited for actually half a second. So normally on Wii, the rule is once you hear the sound, you can be sure that the game saved. But yeah,
you can.
N64 hard reset, maybe not quite.
We'd have to test, but I'm almost sure like press A then directly reset after like would work. Like,
yeah.
Like,
but yeah,
maybe
that's just
a couple of frames, but usually like you've seen like really fast runners just press A and the screen would just go black right away.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit scary. I always wait at least half a second every time, I think.
I'm just slow, so even if I didn't wait half a second, it's probably going to take me half a second. But my Wii is closer now. It should get better.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is barely any time.
Yeah. It won't
Alright.
prevent you from achieving
So
your goal.
yeah, human, we are almost done. Just a few more text boxes, and then it's time to get silver rupee and buy explosives. And yeah, do you want to explain?
We need max tooth, max bombs here.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do get the silver rupees first in second cycle.
Do you want to explain hovering and ISG?
Yeah. So eventually, with those bombs, Mousse is going to use that trick a lot called the Infinite Soaring glitch, or ISG for short, that will let Link swing his sword infinitely by interrupting the crouch tab animation at a proper moment, either by reading a sign or picking up a bomb or an object. And that will put Link in a grounded state if you're slashing infinitely. So when you shield a bomb in the air, you also get in a grounded state and slashing, and that will allow Link to hover. And so we'll use that to cross big gaps, elevate ourselves inside either a fortress or a dungeon. So yeah, it'll be pretty useful. So we're actually going to use hovering like right away to activate another really important glitch in the run.
So there you saw
let us warp everywhere.
Yeah. So you could see he stabbed there and then talked to the banker. That also already activated the infinite sword glitch that we are seeing here with those hovers.
Yeah. So each time. Well, that's what the game sees it as. So when you're slashing, you can't fall, and taking damage from shielding damage from a bomb puts you in a grounded state. So can't fall plus grounded state means you can't. You're going to hover, and here the angle was probably off. So what's the backup here?
I think
maybe some of the timers just buy more.
Maybe. Yeah, or get some more rupees? I don't know. Or maybe he just... Yeah, maybe he does Song of Time.
Oh,
yeah.
So, but still, they've got the money to do it, so might as well activate the owl then. Maybe play Song of Time.
Yeah, I
Unless
guess so. I think in marathon runs, Song of Time is the way to go.
Yeah, like this, they won't have to worry about there you go. That's
Yeah.
what you're supposed to do here. So what Mousse did right now is called a mega flip at the end of the hovers. So you roll into a bomb. Because of the invincibility frames, you'll be able to backflip without taking damage from the bomb, but still carry the bomb push speed into the air, and therefore giving you a backflip that goes really far back, allowing you to cross super large distances.
Yeah. Oh, he gets
getting an extra 20 here. That's a good idea. So that's something that's used a lot in randomizer, actually, where you can jump slash here and just make it to that chest with a good roll. The roll here has to be, you have to be careful here. If you don't go fast enough, it's really easy to fall off that awning. But
yeah,
Mousse
still
got
not
it
quite.
easily.
Yeah. Still not quite
And
enough
actually
rupees.
yeah.
But almost. Yeah, okay, he gets the red rupee chest here, maybe, or one of the chests. So we should maybe mention what the owl did. So you saw Mousse hover out of bounds to this owl that kind of is actually the South Clocktown owl, but it was on the West Clocktown map. Now that owl is just there to make the player think, oh yeah, there's South Clocktown and there's this owl. But it actually still works like an owl statue. Except the location. So you can soar to owls with Song of Soaring. But for this owl, the game doesn't really know where to put your cursor on the map or what to activate. Oh, what options to give you when you play the Song of Soaring. So the game knows you have hit an owl, so you will not get the text, oh, you have not hit any owl statue yet. And what actually will happen is what we see later.
Yeah, so you'll see sometimes Mousse just going into their menu for apparently no reason and selecting a map point. Actually, that'll be so we can align those with the owl statue warps, and like this, we'll be able to warp to those owl statues without ever.
No, you spoiled that. Whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit self-explaining once you see it later. So now the infamous trick, the Swamp Grottoes. Now this is one of the hardest tricks, I would say, in the game.
Yeah, in terms of like those messed up hovers and mega flip setups, that's one of the hard ones. It can get super consistent with practice, but it's still even.
I've practiced this so much, and I'm still so inconsistent at this trick. So yeah, basically, this hover here in the Swamp Grottoes is optimized to not use that many explosives, but it's really hard. And now you will see we land here in some other place in the scene, and this is actually another grotto because all the grottos are on the same scene. And when you exit, now you're in Deku Palace. And it's a little bit weird because there wasn't even a grotto visible. But on the Japanese version, there's actually a grotto there. For the English version, they changed this.
Yeah, it's still technically in the game, but they've locked it
exactly. They just removed the grotto actor. So if you play the Japanese version, you will see what this grotto is actually. And so yeah, you can hover out of bounds to this grotto and then appear in Deku Palace. This, by the way, does not work with every grotto. There are just some grottos that work like this, like an actual entrance. But most grottos are actually just you save your the scene where you entered a grotto, and then when you exit the grotto, the game will look up where you entered and just send you where you were.
Yeah, so for example, if when you learn this trick and make a couple of mistakes, you might sometimes land in another grotto. That's the
the ocean grotto usually.
Yeah, the ocean grotto. that's next to it on the same scene where all these little maps are put together to kind of save space. But because of, even though you leave by the ocean Gossip Grotto, you'll still end up next to the swamp area because of that explanation Turkenheimer gave, because it stores where you were.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now we learned Sonata of Awakening. That song will be needed to enter the Woodfall Temple. Basically, every area gives you a song to reach the temple, but you will see later we only need 2 of those. 2 actually are necessary to even access the temple at all. Actually, that's not quite true. The Woodfall loading zone technically exists. Yeah,
there are theories for it.
Yeah, well, we will see that later. So we will make the temple rise with the Sonata, and technically the loading zone exists, but it's not really possible to reach. At least so far, that nobody has found a way. And then yeah, the Great Bay loading zone just does not exist at all. You will later need to wake up the turtle to just create the loading zone, or to load the loading zone, basically. But yeah, the other 2 dungeons just have their loading zone accessible, and it can be reached with glitches. So, Song of Soaring, this is probably the most important song we learn. Well, not, I mean, we need every song that we learn in this category, but...
Yeah, so now Deku Palace warp map point is going to align with the warp point that is Mountain Village. And so like this, we never need to we don't even need to get the bow first. We don't need to go and clip through the ice. We can just warp there. As long as we access Deku Palace, it makes Mountain Village automatically accessible through Song of Soaring. And now you've seen Mousse do that. That was called with the bomb and roll into it. That was a super slide. So I think when you try to pick up a bomb and get interrupted, the game pushes you back but forgets to stop you, and so you keep going backwards, and that's called a super slide.
So, Goron Village, we are just here for another map pointer, because when we select Goron Village on the map, then this will correspond to Stone Tower. We will not use that right away, but we will need that later.
Yeah, so it's super convenient. On top of that, we have a bomb drop. So for this route, you really want everything you can in terms of bomb drop. The route is super fast, but it's really stringent when it comes to the bombs.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Great Bay here. Great Bay is index 0, so it's just the default. If you don't select anything at the map at all, then you can sort to Great Bay. This is also what was originally found. And people thought, oh, it's a method for Great Bay early. Yeah. But yeah, no, you can... people found out later that the map you get in the pause menu is actually more or less the same map that you can see with Song of Soaring. Oh, and here we saw a cutscene skip. Normally you have to watch Mika walking up there, but if you just time your Song of Double Time, right? On this version, by the way, this is one version exclusive thing.
Yeah, it doesn't work on the Japanese version.
Yeah, it reloads the scene with the night transition. On the Japanese version, it would not do that, and this cutscene skip doesn't work on Japanese.
Yeah, on the Japanese version, you can do something called a time stop, and
then different versions.
Exit Great Bay, then come back, and, like physically moving Link in and out, and then it would work.
Yeah,
but
so on
English,
the
you can just place on a double time.
yeah on Japanese, basically all those cutscene skips that we see here with Song of Double Time on Japanese would be either something with time stop or pausing into a loading zone, just like we saw earlier with the Happy Mask Salesman skip, pausing into a loading zone, or a mixture of both. And yeah, the English version is way more convenient. This cutscene skip here is so much better and easier and faster. But yeah, this isn't even the reason why we play on this version. I guess we will not spoiler this because it's an incredible trick. I mean, if you have seen speedruns of this game, you probably know the trick, but
that depends what
it
speedrun
is.
you've seen.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the trick I
the
have
trick.
in mind. It's only used in one category.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's true. But yeah, the trick that English is needed for is by most people, I think, considered to be the hardest trick in this game, or at least, well, maybe not the hardest
I'll quote.
overall, but I don't know.
I'll quote world record contender for this category. Pope Squidward once said, "The time I've spent learning this trick that we'll see later,
Yeah, he
like
exactly
accumulated
said
to
it.
get if he put all the time he practiced for other tricks combined, it's roughly equivalent to that's one single trick we're going to see
Yeah.
later in the speedrun. We'll say it when the trick comes, but that's literally the hardest thing to learn in this game.
I mean, it's at least the hardest trick that actually is really done in speedrunning.
Yeah, there are some
I mean-
messed up setups that can let you do wrong warps that nobody uses, but and they're maybe
Well, those-
harder
yeah.
or something.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, that's just
yeah,
some
but-
obscure things that technically exist but are not used. Yeah, we don't count those, so then I would say it's probably the hardest
Yeah.
trick later. But hey, first we are here in Woodfall Temple. Yeah, Sonata. So yeah, this is the temple that I meant. This loading zone technically exists for the temple in the water. However, it is below the scene. And if you go in out of bounds water in this game, and the game checks if there's floor beneath you, and if not, then the game counts this as being out of bounds and voids you out. So this is unfortunately a very big inconvenience compared to Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, so this
Where you
game
can
has
just-
a very
yeah.
sensitive definition of out of bounds water.
Yeah. The funny thing is, there are so many cases where you can still go out of bounds, but you just need floor beneath you. If you watch 100% Great Bay, in Great Bay Temple, there are so many out of bounds swims actually.
Yeah. Yeah, Great Bay is the out of bounds dungeon.
Yeah, that's true actually.
It really
But yeah, it's
so much
really
out of bounds.
it's really tricky when you learn this first to not void out accidentally, because you need to pay so much attention to not
Yeah, so here
swim over void.
here you might have seen Mousse do something kind of random, which is put on Zora Mask and then remove it. From starting from Deku Link, but that's normal. We do that, so we skipped first time we're wearing a Zora Mask. The cutscene. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, that's not too bad. Yes,
that's
we
actually
can
alright.
get bombs here.
You can back
Yeah.
this up. So yeah, so when you first put on Zora Mask, it's gonna play the cutscene where Link gets scared, and then it's kind of worrisome. But if you go from Deku Link to Zora Link, from like one transformation to another, that cutscene is not going to play, but the game will still record that you've worn Zora Mask for at least once, and so the cutscene won't be forced again. Well, that saves a bit of time. So here, we're trying to mega flip onto that torch. If we had hookshot early, we could just go and hookshot it, but in this category, as you'll see, we completely skipped the hookshot. Since it's slower than actually going all the way inside the fortress and getting it.
Yeah.
So we need to find other ways to get across, and we have bombs and hovers, so that will come in handy in lots of places where we would use hookshot if it was more easily accessible.
And we have the bow. One thing, maybe if you have seen Ocarina of Time, there's this glitch called Power Crouch Stab, where your crouch stab deals the same damage as your last normal sword attack. Now this version is the first where this glitch is actually patched. On the Japanese 1.0 and 1.1 version, that still exists. But unlike Ocarina of Time, your default damage is just null, so you can stab something and just it does not do anything, and I assume that's how they found the glitch eventually. So yeah, this is patched out here, unfortunately. So here, another pretty hard trick. Woodfall Temple boss key skip upstairs.
Yeah,
So now we are in on the first floor basically. So this is a little bit higher up over the room with the. I can't really describe where we need to hover, but
the pre-boss room. We can call it that.
Yeah, I mean this is first floor, and the boss door room is in first floor. What did I just say? I don't know. We go upstairs because then falling down
exactly. So
it
essentially,
saves explosives.
We're above the room in front of the boss's room loading zone. So if we hover and mega flip all the way across, we can land onto that loading zone and skip the boss key. And now we're fighting a Dolwa. On the Japanese version, you would just do power crouch tab, but as Turk and Iber explained, we don't have that, so we'll be doing quick spins here instead.
Optimally, actually, this is faster here, but it's not that consistent sometimes. But yeah, the way that he attempted, yeah, he didn't get. It's actually not that hard, but yeah, he did not quite get it. Optimally, because Odolwa was a little bit of a troll. But yeah, doing those quick spins is also technically the fastest way to kill Odolwa. Alright, and that's the first dungeon.
So now we're going to watch 2 long cutscenes. People ask that sometimes. I've wondered for a long time. Why don't we do something like Great Bay first? Or why don't... Because we have to watch a really long cutscene there after the Giants cutscene. It's
first of all, this
actually
cutscene,
faster. It actually ends up being faster despite the cutscene length.
Well, first of all, this cutscene here is not avoidable. So in this cutscene, we learn Oath to Order, and without major glitches, there's no other way to get the song.
That is correct.
We can technically skip this cutscene, but then we would never learn the song and then softlock us out of finishing the game. Without major glitches, at least.
Yeah, you need to watch at least one Giants cutscene.
Yeah, the first one.
To get Oath to Order, and yeah, exactly, precisely the first one. After that, we can skip all the other Giants cutscenes.
Yeah. So the interesting thing also is, it doesn't matter in which order you beat the dungeons, you will always get the cutscenes in the same order. The devs actually knew about beating dungeons out of order, because you can actually do this casually. The way they designed this is you just need the item inside the dungeon to access the next area. So you can completely casually just go to Woodfall Temple, get the bow, then you can access the mountains. In mountains you can get the fire arrows, to access Powder Keg, to access Ranch, to access Epona, to access Great Bay. And so on. So yeah.
So casually, as a child, that's how I would do it. I had trouble beating Snowhead for so long. I would just get the fire arrows and move on to Great Bay and Ikana. And then one day
my problems started at Great Bay Temple.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay, mic problem somewhere? Okay, your problems. Oh, sorry, I heard mic problems. I was wondering.
No.
Okay, MY. Thank you.
Okay, I mean, okay, so whatever. So, we watched the Oath to Order cutscene, and now comes the cutscene that would not be there if we did not beat Woodfall Temple first. So this is unfortunately what you get beating Woodfall Temple first.
終点の裏口からの再開となります。
The problem in routing is
私もなんかこうちょっと変わってるんですよ。
you basically only have the options to either beat Woodfall first, as we have here, then you watch this stupid cutscene, or you go to Great Bay Temple first, and then there is a cutscene you cannot skip of Gaiok. We will see that later. We can actually skip this cutscene in this category.
いいですね。
Or the third option is we just get the bow and then leave. But that would have the problem that's backtracking, so we just getting into the temple and out and then get back. That's also incredibly slow.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, yeah. So you'd also
So
get
you-
like 2 extra
これで
warps.
まあ神殿攻略したんですけど、出待ちでもう一つやるこ
At
とがある
least 2
ので
extra warps if you just go in and get the bow first.
Yeah, so this option here turns out to be the least bad.
ここから注目ポイントですね。
And also here, the thing is, we can combine this with getting bottle relatively quickly. We still don't have a bottle. And here's the Zora has. We can only do this when the swamp is purified, because otherwise there would be poison and we could not Hess here. Did we explain Hess yet?
No, we can do that.
No, yeah, so Hess is when you just hold outside the loadings. What am I saying? When you just hold outside the dead zone, then you turn and Link will do some shuffling animation. And if you combine this with damage, then the game does not really check to decrease your speed or something. I don't really know the theory, but something like this. So rolling into a bomb gives you a recoil, and then you do this shuffle to preserve your speed, basically.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So the shuffling position that we call ESS or extended super slide position will preserve your speed when you get pushed back by a bomb. Plus, you have invincibility frames that makes it so in MM in particular you won't have damage from rolling into an exploding bomb. It'll push you back at speed 18 when normal backwalking speed is something like 8.5 or 0.25. So you're going at least twice as fast with the Hess. And the advantage of Hess over Super Slide that we saw earlier, where you need to hold shield while going all the way backwards, is that with the Hess, you can actually change direction, which makes it a lot more flexible.
Yeah, and speaking of Hess, here this is the one super hard trick that we were talking about earlier, and this is yet again a Hess. And yeah, we are hessing against the wind here. So we are trying to get to Snowhead's temple, and this is incredibly difficult. So there's this wind that will blow us back, and then there are also the snowballs we need to dodge, and everything is done while going backwards. I think you said speed 18. Technically, it's negative 18. So this is why
No,
we
that's
go backwards.
velocity negative 18. Speed is a no.
Oh yeah, I
velocity
think. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you're right, actually.
I did say speed because I meant speed. So
Yeah,
here,
true. That's true.
that's the trick we said was the hardest useful glitch to learn
Yeah.
in.
So this was the first
Majora.
try, which would have been surprising if in a marathon this would have been first try. Of course, it's not.
So now,
That's okay.
Mousse is going to warp back again. Why? Because I think the setup for this, the initial position starts right from the statue. So you could maybe just go back to the position, but also that's not true. So the main reason is that I got it mixed up. So the actual reason is just so we get an extra bomb drop. Yeah, I got confused with something else.
No. It's because of the snowball cycle. So the thing is, most runners don't learn a second setup because when you go for PB, if you fail this first try, it's a reset anyway. So
yeah.
At least PB is dead.
Optimized, yeah. If your PB,
at least your
optimized,
PB is dead. So this is why most runners don't learn a setup where you can back this up without soaring in initially. So the snowball cycle here will just be different. And you would need to
Yeah.
learn a backup.
Wind cycle here is not taken into account because after the first wind, it's RNG. So
Yeah, but
first wind
it's
always blows at the same time, but then it's RNG.
yeah, that's true, but you can still kind of measure at least the snowball cycles in the wind cycles. So it's not 100% accurate, but at least somewhat.
So there's some link between both. Is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it's not. It is RNG how quickly the wind is blowing again, but at least to get somewhat of an idea where the snowballs are, you can look at the wind cycles.
It's interesting how something RNG can give you something like that.
So yeah, this was not the very fastest way to get in. You can actually has all the way in, but it's really risky and really hard.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because you need
Mousse
to dodge
just,
all those snowballs, you need good wind. So this trick needs really like perfect consistency, like with good RNG, and you're not always gonna get it.
Yeah, okay, so
lullaby
snow
skip is
temple.
what we call this. Yeah, so English lullaby skip is what we call this one.
We
And
just
it's,
saw two
really hard.
glitches already in this dungeon. So first you saw him clip through this block. It's really easy. You can just side up there.
Yes.
And now you
Don't
saw
even ignore
he did a really
masters.
long jump. We will actually see this again in a second after this hover here. There was this trick called a long jump. When you jump off a ledge, you will actually jump further the higher your speed is. So when you get hit by a bomb, you get a lot of speed for a second and then can jump very far.
Yeah, so essentially what happens is that when you jump, it just takes your running speed at the ledge and transfers it to the start of the jump. So the bomb pushes you at a... So running speed is something like 6 units. Damage knockback from a bomb is something like 13 units, which is more than twice as fast. And so when you... with the long jump, you get a starting jump speed that's twice as high, and so you can get much further than a normal
You can't really keep up with the glitches. Here was a trick called broken deku stick. When you are just the right distance away from a wall and jump slash with a stick against the wall, then
I don't remember if we classify that as a glitch.
I think so. Well, anyway, when you are in the air and your stick breaks, then the game doesn't really get rid of it in your hand and you can still keep slashing with it. And stick damage is higher than sword damage.
Interestingly, I think we...
And then there was also a cutscene skip where you could skip the second phase of Wizrobe because you can just slash at the
you
right
can
time.
essentially stun lock Wizrobe into trying to start the second phase but never actually getting it. And now that's our first instance of an Ocarina dive. And now Mousse is playing Song of Time, and that'll be helpful later on because when... So that will store the query for saving with Song of Time, and Mousse will be able to bring it back right when it's needed, so we can save the game but skip a cutscene later on. So you'll see, it's a pretty neat trick.
There was a little thing you
Mousse
could...
got the IG backup.
Yeah.
Tap
The
bomb at the last
backflip
second.
too. Oh, you're talking about this trick already. I was still at the ice. He just backflipped into the ice. It's a neat little thing.
Oh, using arrow strats here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
with
probably to save
that bomb
explosives.
count, yeah.
Optimally, you want to either super slide just past the snowballs. You can do that actually.
You can also hash through them, I believe.
Yeah, or has. Like with high speed, you can just slip through the sides, or at the side.
So he's gonna
You don't need
flip
to
into
break
the
this.
bomb. So when you
And
don't
this,
have when you don't have infinite sword glitch and do a backflip while shielding a bomb, that'll push Link back really quickly. That we call recoil flip. It's used for a lot of things involving clipping. So on top of giving you a large distances for crossing gaps, recoil flips also allow you to clip in like we just saw. So clip through the corner and then you can just enter the boss loading zone.
Here's an interesting strat for Goat. So Goat is actually coded a little bit weird.
Oh, what? Oh, so you're supposed to be able to stun lock Goat here into attacking you, but that didn't happen?
My stream froze. I have a second stream here. Alright, so he's now doing the, yeah, this is basically the only backup I think you can do. So it's still faster to just shoot him with arrows.
Unlock Goat back, but it's kind of weird. You can get lucky and stun back. I've done it.
So if Goat would have started running differently, then there would be a backup way. Just wait for him running a full circle and then you try the same thing again.
Yeah.
But yeah, normally what's supposed to be is...
Goat went the other way.
Yeah, normally what's supposed to be here is Goat stands there for a while. And unless you... yeah, go into his range, then he will just start running backwards towards you. And you can actually reset his timer to not run towards you by just showing up a little bit. So he tries to shoot his laser at you and then... Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit hard to explain. He pressed some text in the pause menu to bring up this text to save the game. And now we can just press yes here to save the game. And as soon as Link starts picking up those remains, you already got them in your inventory, then save the game and reset.
Yeah, so you don't
So this way we skip this cutscene. There would be another Giants cutscene here.
And the reason why it appeared is because of that dive while playing Song of Time earlier. So the song
Somebody in
played,
chat says, yeah,
game.
I don't understand what's happening.
I'll take a more specific question. If you have a more specific question, I'll gladly answer.
It's so hard to explain. I think like there was going on so much, so maybe
a lot was going
there
on.
There was maybe there will be something easier here.
Yeah,
Here's another gainer.
Yeah, so that was a frame perfect one. Mentioned it earlier. When you don't have a corner to help you get a 2-frame gainer, the trick with the forward backflip to grab the ledge, that's actually 1-frame trick. Gets consistent with enough practice, or if you remove the springs from your GameCube controller.
Well, the easiest is actually just play on the PAL version in 50 Hz.
Oh,
that makes it easier. When I learned this game, I was playing on PAL, and I did not know why everybody was so hating gainer so much. And then I started playing with NTSC, and I realized, oh wait, this trick is actually way harder when you play at 60 Hz. Yo, so this is the Stone Tower cycle. So earlier we were in Goron Village and he chose the pointer on the map and we saw 2 Stone Tower. Normally you have to climb this, it's really long, or in one other category there's a trick to do a hookshot jump.
Yeah, so now Mousse is doing some really important equips, and you've seen now Mousse has 2 bomb chews set seemingly equipped. Actually, they're the same one, it's just 2 icons are showing up. And that's important because that equip swap, which is when you equip an item over the wrong slot, will let Mousse override the chew slot and put a bottle on it. And what that does is that when Mousse finishes this cycle and saves, instead of emptying the bomb shoe slot, the game's gonna see a bottle and say, oh, I don't need to do anything there. And so Mousse will be able to to carry bomb shoes over to the final cycle of the speedrun.
Yeah, so the first
Right now, these 20
attempt here.
chews are everything, are the last explosives that Mousse will have access to in the next cycle. So
And the best
no
try here
more
was
buying
not quite
explosives anymore.
successful. So yeah, second try, that's fine. Now he already has a bottle in his hand with a ferry, and the trick you can do here is time stop.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, you can have the block on the right side and then make it stop with time stop, go on the block, and cancel time stop with C up, and thereby just carry all the way to the other side. Pretty neat.
Yeah. An old strat that was used here is to actually pause buffer your weight at the block because cutscenes take 2 frames to
yeah,
activate.
that's also a method, but
That's
that's
an
really
old
slow.
trick that used to be done. Also do
Here's
a time stop with a bomb. So lots of
here's a
ways
really
to
cool
skip
thing.
elegy.
This is a really cool super swim. You combine this just with the clip, so you roll into the bomb to clip through the block, and combine this with a Zora super swim.
Yeah,
So when you
super
alternate between B and A, so B makes you sink, A makes you swim up again. And if you just alternate between those two, the game, yeah, just stays in this weird state where you... I don't really know. I don't know the
it
science
carries
behind
your
it.
speed. Essentially,
Yeah,
when you enter
preserves your
water,
speed.
the good alternating of A and B will make it so the game preserves your speed. And that makes it so you can, if you start in the water at a really high speed and do that alternating A and B to get that kind of like shaking of Zorling, then that will let you just swim backwards really quickly.
Going for some safety bombs here.
Yep.
Technically, you don't need those, but I guess marathon run.
Yeah, in a marathon run, that's I would have just gone for 20. I would.
So normally this room here is done with deck link, but it's way slower than doing what we are doing here. Just using some explosives to recoil off and fly through this room really quickly.
Fairly precise, but that worked. Perfect. And now fire arrows will be really helpful for Garo Master.
Is he doing the really quick new stretch that
see.
nobody really is doing except Zippo? No, it's
Is
not.
that the backflip one?
I don't really know how it works, but you can, I think if you roll at just the right time, you can instantly shoot him, and this saves like half a second or 1 second per shot. But yeah, this is the common method that Mousse used here.
Yeah, so here you roll into, it looks kind of worrisome to just roll into Garo Master attacking you, but because of invincibility frames and with the good timing, Garo Master 1 won't damage you, and 2 will stop in front of you, just making itself available for you to attack and then make the fight really fast. Do we usually death warp here?
Not in this route because we have a ferry. So because we did the bomb shoe preservation here earlier, we have this ferry. Yeah, without the ferry and some other categories or some other routes also, we can do a death warp here. And that's actually an even faster Garo fight where we just don't roll and take damage. And then we get invincibility because we just were hit. And that's
now
another
you've seen
way.
Mousse flip the stone tower. That was used doing a glitch called bow extension that lets Link's bow cross collision and shoot past that collisions. And light arrow target is still accessible. That crystal is still active if you shoot it from either the front or the back. So you can flip stone tower without moving the blocks out of the way, saving us a lot of time. And on top, not needing the song at all. So all the ways you think you would need elegy, you can actually find a way to skip it. And now Mousse is going to set up for a pretty cool long jump right there. Got it first try.
That long jump is actually so difficult, especially getting this consistently.
Yeah,
This is a really precise one. And here's another
really
song storage. So you can just side slash there and press Ocarina and you will just fall off the ledge and then really quickly play Song of Time.
Getting more
You need to be
arrows?
really
Okay.
quickly on this one.
That's good
Yeah.
to know that arrow drop there.
That's actually RNG. I always go for these. Those pots can drop magic, arrows,
Now
or
that's
hearts.
which one would you say is the harder boss to skip? This one or Woodfall?
Quite similar, I would say.
Say this one.
I think, I don't know, they are similar to me. So yeah, this is frame perfect here. However, the Woodfall one, yeah, the Woodfall one is not frame perfect, but because it is not, you don't want to buffer it, and that again makes it hard. So it's hard to say. It's hard to compare.
So essentially, as in all dungeons, the boss loading zone is accessible. Is always in the dungeon, whatever room you're in. So Mousse is just doing hovers and mega flips
there we go.
to eventually get to that loading zone, and right away we don't need to go through all the puzzles, don't need to push any blocks, get any keys really in the inverted stone tower. We just get to twin mole right away.
Yeah, one really dangerous thing about this boss skip is the game voids you out after you fall for or when you fall down a certain distance. So it's not like a void plane there. It's just you need to fall yeah, down enough, basically.
So here,
and so you can actually fail this boss skip when you just start your final mega flip when you are too high up. Anyway, you explain this fight.
Yeah, so you've seen Mousse throw a bomb at blue twin mole and then use fire arrows. So the colors here are kind of a hint. So blue is weak against fire arrows, red is weak against ice arrows. So we use fire arrows against blue plus a bomb that makes it so we just need 3 fire arrows and a bomb, and that's all enough to get blue down really quickly. Then red is a bit harder because once blue is gone,
that's a really good fight.
Yeah, it's really amazing, honestly.
Wow, that was pretty good.
So yeah, once blue is gone, there's actually less lag in the room, so red is moving faster. So you gotta have to shoot really ahead of time to make sure you hit it. So that's why adapting to the twin mole fight, at least in this fashion with the arrows, is actually really difficult. Plus, we can't use Giant Smash because of the Bosky skip. We don't even get there. And so,
Alright.
well, that was actually good.
The first cycle for red was so good, and then the second not so much.
Yeah, then have
But
to
hey.
wait a bit. But this fight's over. And
Yeah.
now, yeah, we're just going to get the remains, save, skip the cutscene like we did with Goat, and go do the last dungeon. Yeah, because because we do Great Bay last in this category.
Mm-hmm. And so you saw earlier the preservation glitch. Even though you might not have understood everything about it, just what you need to know is Mousse still has bomb juice, even though normally after Song of Time all your ammo is removed. But you can now see, yeah, still 9 bomb juice. And because
depending on the equip, I'm not sure, Asder. Depending on the equips, you.
Oh, it very much depends. Actually, so optimally light arrows are slower if your aiming is perfect, because you can shoot 3 normal arrows quicker than 1 light arrow. So 2 normal arrow shots would be.
1 light arrow is worth 2 normal arrows of damage. So if it's faster, then yeah. So
a really cool super swim here.
Yeah, so now Mousse is going all the way to Pinnacle Rock to get a Zora egg. So as I've said earlier, we're not getting hookshot, and the reason is simple is we're not going to Fortress at all in the run. And now you'll wonder, but how can you do that? Because you need all 7 eggs. But you will see that actually we kind of don't.
Oh my god, he's doing the corner cutting. This is actually a really difficult way, I think he did it here.
Yeah, that was that's the YOLO, we call it quotation marks YOLO dives here. Where actually you can, as long as you don't hit the walls of the all those loading zones warping you back to the start here, you can swim
If you have not
above.
played the game, there's a certain path you need to take here, and if you get off the path, you just void to the beginning. Also here, normally you cannot play Ocarina underwater in this game, but yeah, there's this trick called Ocarina items. It's very similar to the bomb chip preservation we saw earlier, except if you do it with different requirements, different things happen.
Yeah, so what happens in this case specifically to get the Ocarina underwater, when you're using the ESS position where Link's feet are shuffling and press bottle then punch, the game won't pick animations correctly because it'll have 2 animations to handle plus a cutscene state. So the game won't know what to do, and so default to the default cutscene state or animation, which is Ocarina playing. And so that makes it so Link pulls out an ocarina or a guitar from Mikhail's case, and then just ocarina underwater as possible. Or in general, ocarina where you're not supposed to use it.
Also, what are we seeing here even? I mean, aren't we not supposed to...
Wait, they only picked up 1 egg, and now there's 2. What's going on?
There are more eggs even. What's going on here? Yeah, this is equip swap again. You can just equip the egg bottle over, yeah, in this case, the light arrow slot. And then when you empty your bottle, the game just writes empty bottle to that bottle item normally, whatever it was. So since this is over the light arrow slot, it will just write empty bottle to the light arrow slot.
There are some routes, I think, that even I don't know if they still do that, but we used to override bow at some point, so we'd have to.
Yeah, the expert route does
Ocarina.
that.
Yeah, we
had the expert route. It's
over Ocarina.
The equips are so complicated.
Yeah, we had to be super careful because you could just lose the bow.
Yeah.
If you weren't careful, and you had to deal
by
with
the way,
magic.
same thing here. If he equips over bomb juice, the bomb juice are gone. Well, you technically have them, but you cannot equip them anymore. So not really any better.
Yeah, so Bombshrew needs to stay equipped for the whole rest of the run. Otherwise,
well, until he, I think at Majora you can then unequip them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, on the moon you're fine.
Yeah, cutscene skip here again. You can just either press Ocarina or pause, or yeah, normally people just spam Ocarina and pause, or at least I do that.
Yeah, I press Ocarina, mash start, then on pause, and in the on pause I mash Ocarina.
Yeah, this cutscene skip here is actually decently easy. You can just
manage to fail it all the time because I'm bad. But yeah, it's one of the easier cutscene skips, honestly. And what happened, the reason why it works, the reason why we can afford it is that we actually get New Wave Bossa Nova the moment you pull out Ocarina to start the egg birth cutscene, or the song learning cutscene. So when we war, we actually learned New Wave Bossa Nova already, so we don't need to watch the cutscene, and that's why we can afford to skip it.
And another cutscene skip coming up here. This is one of the harder ones, so it's a frame perfect pause here, and then yeah, in this case, on the English, we can just play Song of Double Time. So this is basically the same as the Mikau cutscene, except it's frame perfect. So we will see if he gets it.
Yes.
Ah, yeah, there we go.
Now you just play Song of Double Time. I think it's important to be from day to night. Does it matter?
Yeah, it needs to be night transition. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So now the turtle will be up and we can just enter the dungeon. However, we don't have hookshot. But, as you've probably seen in this run, we have bombs, so everything's fine.
フックショットを持っていないと上に登れないので、もちろん、まあ、今回もホバリングで登っていき
So
ま
we
す。
just do a couple hovers there.
で、ここでちょっと待っ
Yeah,
て
the turtle actually moves
And-
up and down here. It's pretty funny. So you want to wait here a little bit for the turtle to move down and then can put on
Oh, because
Zora.
it actually moves the floor that's on top of the. Okay. that
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
The hitbox of the turtle is actually also pretty weird.
Okay.
Not quite like it looks visually. But yeah, the turtle moving up and down is actually
Actually,
a thing.
I noticed that yesterday. Another example of a weird shaped
Yeah, it's I don't
collision
know.
compared to the object are Deku flowers. So Deku flowers are like circular, you think, but when you look at it, the collision is the exact same as a switch. It's really neat to look
Well, I think there are more hitboxes. Like I don't know. Deku flowers are a little bit more complicated. There are several hitboxes for I think normal collision and then where you can press A to go into the flower and whatever. So Great Bay Temple. We are totally going to see a lot in this dungeon.
It's the longest dungeon. It lasts forever. So,
Yeah. Well, not in this category. Because we just do this. Oh, actually, we do this twice here in this in this
Yeah.
route, so it's not
here
bad.
with a bomb push clip, Macau Zora Link can get under the slope here, and then we do song storage, so we can eventually again skip the Giants cutscene. But we can do it again, and
Same
then
trick again.
yeah, we're just gonna do it again for fun, and then we're just gonna go and do the whole, you know, the turn on the water.
Yeah, we are doing the whole dungeon here. Yeah.
Yep. And for fun, and actually we need to kind of do that to get to oh wow, wait.
Oh
Wait.
this is the boss room.
You didn't get the boss keys here.
Oh
the
no.
boss key. No, not the boss key.
So yeah, here is this cutscene skip here, so you can shoot Georg through the wall before the fight starts. Didn't hit the first try.
Still worth it. This
So
cutscene
yeah.
is like about 30-40 seconds.
Yeah, so earlier we mentioned that depending on which dungeon you choose to do first, there are different inconveniences. Basically, either you can skip this cutscene, but then you cannot skip another cutscene and
Yes,
so on.
Asder, that in this case, if you don't have what explosives, I think Mousse is out of bombs. You can bow extension to Georg.
Yeah, I mean he even had a bomb, I think, but there's also a thing called a weird shot that can crash if you are not careful on this version. So maybe that's why you didn't go for it.
Also, yeah, that's true. Yeah, weird shot is very sensitive on the English version of this game. So in a race, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, marathon run.
Well, not a race, marathon run. Sorry, I commentate a lot of races. That's
yeah, also this fight here is a little bit, yeah. You stun lock Georg when he's close to the wall. And yeah, for both phases you just do this. So this fight is actually quite boring.
It's fun to do, but it's
it's not fun to do. No.
I like Georg. Okay, and now we just get the last remains. And we leave.
Yeah, that were all the dungeons.
Yeah, that's
And yeah, so Great Bay Temple in speedruns that actually do stuff inside the dungeon, like glitchless or hundo or all ferry rewards. This is actually a really cool dungeon. But yeah, categories that just need to beat the dungeon, it's really always just this clip. And yeah. So we have still bomb shoes, and normally you need to wait for night of the third day, midnight on the third night. But the loading zone here, yeah, the loading zone is still here. And this was a really special kind of ISG there. Crouch stabbing.
Wait,
did he mess up?
Turn around.
Yeah, just okay. I think he can just reset. Yeah, just reset because
yes,
he gets his
here.
bombs back.
That's strange. I looked high enough though. Maybe a one next turn.
Yeah.
But that means we might get to see the last use, the intended use for the last bomb shoe, which looks really neat. So that's in terms of entertainment, that's a good thing. So with those last 6 bomb shoes, we want to do 2 things. We want to get in, get to the top of Clock Tower, and then maybe use the last bomb shoe for a fast way to get to the tree where Majora is waiting for us.
Yeah, so four bomb shoes for the hover, and normally the easy way for the Hess is 2 bomb shoes. But there's also 1 bomb shoe Hess, but that's frame perfect. Something I don't remember.
I know Mousse does the trick. I forgot if it's with 1 or 2 chews, but they do pause.
Yeah,
something at
barely.
1
I
point.
think nobody really does the 1 bomb shoe Hess. It's really hard and inconsistent. Yeah, unskippable cutscene here, 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, so we're going to talk
this
about
is
all the
about
stuff we forgot
break
earlier.
time.
Or answer questions. If there are any questions, anything. So yeah, so now we got Oath to Order, as mentioned earlier. We absolutely needed for that rule set. Oh, we didn't talk about that. What does no major glitches entail?
Before you
Let's
were
do
here,
it.
I mean, we can talk about it again. But
Okay,
yeah, before you were here, I
okay.
talked a little bit about it.
Okay. I was hearing but not listening, I guess. That's my
I mean, it's been a while, so if you want to talk about this again, we have time.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so yeah, that's essentially a Genesis. So yeah, so no major glitches. We remove SRM, so stale reference manipulation, that allows you to manipulate memory essentially at will. Essentially at will. You need setups and all of that. This is not allowed in no major glitches. We also banned text overflow, that allows you to, in particular, access the debug menu. So we also banned that because these are very
so the debug menu is
glitches.
an item editor, basically. You can just give yourself any item. Yeah.
So those 2 glitches are banned, and that essentially puts the category back to what it was at the start of 2019. Making it so you have to go through the dungeons, you have to do all these insane tricks we've seen with the out of bounds to warp to another zone, and just keeping a lot of the fun stuff in the game.
I mean, yeah, SRM can also be fun if you put the right restrictions on it. But yeah, all dungeons, SRM is just you do a bunch of glitchy stuff and then you just warp from boss to boss. And that's the category. And you don't even beat Majora, you just credit swap in the end. So I think this category is a lot more interesting to watch.
Yes, you do, Genesis.
Oh yeah.
And maybe in 3 years I will try Total Dungeon Completion, which is a category where you get all the items from dungeons.
I still need to finish the road.
Plus Pharaoh
Yeah.
Lord. And yeah, plus I think you guys, what do? You credit swap or something? Probably.
And TDC you credit swap, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that category looks interesting to me because I really like
the problem with SRM categories is you never you can never really finish them routing because SRM is an endless trick.
Yeah,
You
it's
always
just
discover new things.
Yeah.
So the route that I had is already outdated because I figured out that you can just manipulate the physics.
So
If you
good.
have seen Ocarina of Time with F boots, you just fly around. You basically can do the same thing in MM.
Eventually, yeah, it all
Yeah.
it's the path to not degeneracy, but to like it's you just can't stop optimizing. There's always something you can do better.
I think we need to put more hard requirements or hard restrictions on it, like maybe no physics manipulation. I don't know.
That's a good
I
one.
think that's not the worst idea. I mean, it's a little bit
Yeah.
weird because you still allow wrong warping. So if you have seen Ocarina of Time with chain warping, then that's basically also
Warping,
the
like,
same.
in, like, the
thing.
principle behind it is really insane.
I mean, it's really cool.
I love the, like, the science of it, just the fact, oh yeah, you can just, like, stack them. Or getting access in Ocarina of Time, something really neat to do is accessing the title file menu, title file save file. It's really messed up.
The amount of chests in this game is truly none.
It's an undefined amount of chests. It's it's too esoteric to define. I agree.
Okay,
Now we're
cutscene is
on
over.
Yay!
So and do we
Mousse got
see
to take a
the
little
Hessu?
break, and now they will Hess all the way to
Nice.
Majora. Nice trick. It really looks. It's beautiful. I really like how it looks. Hessing in general is just a gorgeous trick to me. It's so satisfying to get Hesses. Hard to learn, but fun to master, I guess.
And yeah, I would say the Majora fight here in this category is not the hardest, but it's also not easy.
Yeah, it's above
Yeah.
beginner. The strats here you'll see at the end, especially, are more than beginner's level.
Yeah. So the
First
interesting
phase is
part.
alright. Yes, go ahead.
The interesting thing about Majora in this game, the final boss, really depending on what items you have, the boss can be much harder or easier. So the extreme, I think, is low percent, which basically has no items, or then there's Defeat Majora that has just some explosives, and it's really still very hard. Now this category here has medium amounts of items, I would say. And then yeah, some categories get the Fierce 2D mask, and this fight is just a joke.
But I like Genesis. One fight I really like is AFR, because you don't get FD, but you have stuff like Great Fairy Sword. Makes the fight,
this is also really
makes the
interesting.
fight so fun to do.
Yeah, Great Fairy Sword is just like, it's not the fight is not free, but it's still, you still can kill Majora really quick.
I can still plow through the fight.
That's not enough magic. So yeah, here strat for the first phases. Hit the back of Majora with fins.
Well, now you're
And
seeing
actually some fire arrows, but
bit of magic, which is alright, because we need just a tiny amount of magic and good RNG. That's a couple of requirements. So if we're lucky, Incarnation is going to run into Zora Link and get stunned by the magic, and like this we can use quick spins to stun lock Incarnation until Wrath.
Didn't quite work.
We go for arrows. Okay, shielding. Have to be careful. Also, you'll see sometimes Mousse will try to be facing the walls, because if you face the walls, your chances of facing the remains are lowered, and if you're not facing the remains, they will not attack you.
So yeah, this here is the quick spin stun lock strat. So you try to spin just when Incarnation is running away, so you get a restun and then can quickly do more quick spins again. So yeah, this was decent.
Yeah.
Now Wrath. On this version we don't have power crouch steps, which means we cannot store the damage of jump slash attacks, but we can do a trick called jump slash cancelling. If you spin,
Mousse tried to dodge remains by turning around, but now like, two of them are looking at it.
I don't know if this was intended.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
But anyway, so here we do this strat where we do jump slashes in a very particular rhythm, and if you just hit Wrath with the right rhythm, then it's a stun lock. And doing this with jump slashes here is actually really difficult, and that's time. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah,
お疲れ様でした
GG, congrats, Mousse.
Wow, wow, wow.
And yeah, so
Majin no Hame
here those
Sky
jump
Light.
slashes, you can't just spam A. You on top
Yeah.
of timing, you need to do you need to cancel the end of the jump slash animation with a twist of your analog stick.
Yeah, basically
Then-
quick spin inputs,
Yeah.
and that cancels the jump slash animation, and you can do another jump slash right away.
Yeah, and making it so you can get the good rhythm for the Stonewall.
そうですね
That's a good question, Aster. If the remains are cold, if they're off camera,
Oh,
I think
no.
it's even the requirement is basic. It's not they can be on screen. It's just Link himself needs to not be facing them to be protected from the remains.
So you can also look at the camera with Link and have the remains all on screen, but they don't attack you because Link is facing away. But if they are cold, I don't think so.
Because, well,
I don't
probably
think they
not,
call.
because they can attack you. If you're facing them and they're not on screen, they will attack you.
ただまあ決めるべきところは一通り決められたかな
So yeah, they're not. I'm pretty sure they're
まあ
not.
その
No, they don't.
I don't think they call at all.
あったり
Yeah,
まあ
they-
あとまあ
So it's really just based on where Link is facing.
まあああいう決めるべきとこちゃんと決めれたのがまあ
And
個人的に嬉しくてまあそこは良かったの
there's
かなと思
something
います
about that. There's something
Ma-
technical about
so
like the
Ma-
facing position.
まあ、プラス
But
ちょっと大きい
even
けど
though you're
多分
technically
半分ぐらい
facing them, if you
あの
quick
最初
spin,
のボム中回
like
転される
your
LP 回収とかがあって
official facing
まあ
angle
あ
when
れ
you
を
quick
除い
spin
た
is
ら
still
まあ
going to
いい
be
走りだったと思います
the one as when you started quick spinning, so that even that is fine. So quick spinning won't increase your chances of getting attacked by them.
Yeah, it's actually not easy to target towards the wall and not accidentally target Incarnation when you try to do the quick spins. That's actually really hard to figure out. So this fight here is not easy to learn, in my opinion.
No, it's a more advanced fight.
So on the Japanese version, there are much easier strats because you have power crowd steps. You can have a
Yes.
Deku stick.
というわけで
And it's good
Or
because we
even
have a
without
lot of
Deku stick.
routes. We have a lot of
まあ
routes for
私から
beginners on the
宣伝する
Japanese
ことはないの
version.
でまああとはムースさん何かちょっと宣伝したいことがありました
So
ら
people don't need to start doing the long Hess and the hard Majora fight when they start learning this game or learning no major glitches. They can learn on JP and then when they're ready, move on to US version.
Yeah.
Or start on US. Like it's just gonna be harder, I think. But yeah. JP version doesn't hookshot skip. Some 130 route does
nice.
not, but I think
There's
there
one
might be
route,
I think there's a 121 by Majin Phil that might skip hookshot. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
so as I think I mentioned earlier, for this category there are many routes. At least 5, I think, maybe 6. And I know there is one route where you play on JP and skip the hookshot, and I think it was before the Snow White Hess was implemented, because the Snow White Hess was considered to be not RTA viable until somebody just did it. I don't remember who was the first person who got this Snow White Hess.
Don't know.
And yeah, that trick does not work on JP because you just get stuck
そうですね
when you
まあ
reach
今回ムースさんの解説させていただいたんですけど、まあ、一応台本は用意してい
when
た
you
んです
reach
け
the
ど、
edge of
まあ、どうして
this
もちょっと分量が
path
多
to
くて
Snow White,
結構この技をしっかり
and
解説したい
you lose all your speed, and so you need to play on English.
結構、まあ、カミカミになったところも、多少あったと思うんで、ちょっと、
So
まあ、そういうところがあったのちょっと申し訳ないんですけど、まあ、それでも楽しんでいただけたらすごく嬉しいです。
いいありがとうございました。
いや、ありがとうございました。非常に貴重な、経験をさせていただきました。
I'm really wondering
こんなところで
if there's a route that skips hookshot.
ですかね。
I mean,
私の方からさせていただこうかなと思います。
there is also, I think, an English route with hookshot.
はい。
I don't quite remember.
私たち
So
の
there, English
ありが
has
とうございましたまだ
some
まだ
other
イン
things
ジャパン続いていきますので、
that makes it faster.
I
I
really
don't really
wanna-
remember the
okay,
history. There is a
This-
history video about this category. And yeah, if you're interested, you can watch this and probably it's mentioned. I mean, the history video is not up to date. It's just, yeah, when this category was still in the States, like any percent, it's an any percent history video, and now obviously the modern any percent just skips all the dungeons.
I think we're out. I'm not sure if we're still on. Still.
But yeah, it's still up to this date that the history video is covering. It's a really good video. Just, yeah, not up to date.
It might have Dad TV. I don't know if we're still on the mic, but still, I will.
The big Chungus flip. Oh my god, I've heard this term before. I don't remember what this is. Big Chungus flip.
We need a repertoire.
Please help me. I know this
you can
term.
still hear us. Okay, good. Okay, I wasn't sure. So yeah, Asder, I don't know if I can post a link, but I'll whisper it to you. There is a run. That's yeah, there is a run on Japanese version that skips hookshot. There is a route for that.